Good afternoon, Miss Keegan. Don't you touch that dial. Don't you touch that dial. I'm your host, Gregory T. Roberts. The show is torn into. That's right. You listen, you hear, you watch it every Friday. Just some information that you need to know. If you're listening to it and like to be involved in the questions, you can go to 103.7 WVS Facebook site or M106 to enter your questions. March, we have been concentrating on the wellness of the soul. Other than last week's show was just people wake up about this Ukraine-Russia thing. Anyway, it is March 25th, 2022. Let's get my co-host together. He is back. Put your hands together for Pastor Melvin Burns II. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, I'm good, my brother. It's good to be back. How are you today?
I'm glad to have you back, man. Listen, man, we were talking about prevention, and I went and had my eyes checked. A thorough check
Okay.
for, diabetes and stuff. And
Yes, sir.
dude, they broke out the C word, cataracts.
Uh-oh, big C here.
Yeah, and so when they were checking my left eye, you know how they say one or two, one or two. They ran out of numbers, man. They in my left eye, and I was like, no wonder I'm having so many problems seeing the screen.
Yeah.
So people with the combination of having a left side paralyzed voice and can't see, show some grace and mercy with me, please.
You would stay away from a dog and a cane.
Hopefully I grow old and grow graceful. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Listen, it's 42 degrees outside. It's great weather for Michigan. What can you say? Had us all excited. 58 degrees the other day, and then bam.
we know better. We know better.
So just have some grace and mercy with us. Today's show, we've been talking about, in March, we've been just dealing with vitamins and making yourself better and preventive health and stuff like that. Now I want to talk to the parents when it comes down to your children, especially the parents that have children that go to work. The years that are so important is those early years of early development. As you know, if you don't know, we had another shooting, and our hearts go out to that family.
Yes.
But those early years of development are so important, and we want to talk about that and tackle that today. Pastor, you want to talk about that a little bit before we get our guests on?
No, so we're past the early kid age, but certainly we can't talk enough about just got those early developmental years. So I'd rather just get to our guest and we'll get into a little bit more.
All right. That is right there. We already got it. There she is, Moraine Zoots. You still do amazing every week, G. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the show every week and listening to the show. Our guest this week, I had a chance to talk to a little bit about the show, and she is solid. She is solid. She owns a daycare, but it's more than a daycare. It's more than a daycare. Her name is Tina Grissom. And you need to hear what she's got to say. She owns a business called Tina's Tots Learning Center, formerly known as Tina Tots Daycare. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're driving, don't clap, but put your hands together for our guest today, Miss Tina Grissom. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful, and you are so right. Please don't clap while you're driving, please.
Say the clap for later. We want you to break it down to us when it comes down to youth, to kids. Let's talk about a little bit about who you are. So introduce yourself, please.
I am Tina Grissom. I own a daycare learning center. I used to have a daycare, and I transitioned it from a daycare to a learning center. I moved to the former Loftus Elementary School building, which is now occupied by myself and West Shore Christian Academy. And also the daycare portion that I have, I'm also going to be opening an infant toddler room. I currently have 18 children, and for my infant toddler room, I'm licensed for 12. So I have
Wow.
a total of 32 children.
Well, now the room that you currently have right now, are you full or do you have openings?
I am completely full. I have a waiting list for that room, for the preschool room. I call it the preschool room. And then for the infant toddler room, I have a few openings in that room.
Okay. So people realize excellence. So that's good. So you must be doing a great job.
I would like to think so. I would like
Go and pat yourself on the back. You can do that.
I would like to think so. I'm actually honored to be working with children. I am.
We were talking about how important it is, and people, when it comes down to children, they get a bad rap. Oh, when they turn to terrible twos, they awful and all this kind of stuff. All kids are bad. Oh, they're terrible. Tina, you were talking about putting them in the right situation and right environment. We'll talk a little bit about what we were talking about.
When it comes to working with children, you actually have to find what works best for them. Not all children work in all settings. Whether it's Head Start, whether it's preschool, whether it's, daycare or learning center, you actually have to find the right environment for your child. And then when you find the right environment, you have to make sure you have the right person that's working with children, because, just because you have a degree don't mean you're good at what you do.
Stop, Tina, stop. Pass the plate, everybody. Because she preaching real good now. You better hear it again. Tina, please say what you just said again. Please.
Just because someone has a degree does not make them qualified to work with the child. And not because, you have the paperwork. The paperwork is fine, but you have to have the patience. You have to have the fortitude, the tenacity to work with them, because all children develop at a different pace. All of them have a different mindset. So you just really have to be patient with them. And then you got to know what works best for that child.
What about people that say that kids don't like structure and discipline?
All children like discipline and structure. It starts early. If you wait until they're 4 and 5 years old, then you kind of miss the mark. But if you start right at the beginning, from birth to putting them to bed at a decent hour, making sure they're on a routine, a schedule, I promise you they will follow through. And I've had people tell me, my kids don't take a nap, or they don't like structure, or they don't listen to me at home. But once they get into a custom of the routine that we do every day, they just follow suit. They follow the leader. So you have to lead by example, but at the same time too, you have to direct them, give them directives as to what to do and to how to do. So when you say clean up, when we say clean up, we play a cleanup song. We give them like a 5-minute warning. Okay, 5 minutes is going to be time to clean up. And then after those 5 minutes, we play the cleanup song. So they know the routine and what is to take place during that course of time.
Now, see, so you can't they have to have structure, like they got to go to bed at the same time or roughly the same time. So you can't be out there on a Tuesday night drinking Cavassier at the club, raising the roof, and then expect to get your child into bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and think they're going to do it okay at 8 o'clock at school.
They're not. We have, and then when you, like you just said, we have to deal with that. I've had that experience to where parents get home late, and I don't know, what the situation may be at the time where they're getting home late, but children don't go to bed till late. So then when they come in the morning, they're dragging, they're whiny, so then I have to coddle them. I have to embrace them just to get them motivated and get them going. Or I'll even let them lay down and take a little nap before I actually get them started into the day, because if they're not having a good day, then it kind of throws everybody off from the routine. Sure. So it's very good to always make sure the children go to bed on time, make sure they get a good meal in the morning. And we also feed the children. So if you don't have time to feed them, I make sure that they have a warm breakfast. We always have oatmeal, cream of wheat, bacon, eggs, toast. We feed our children.
Hey, Pastor Melvin Burns, sounds like we gonna be going there and
I
eating
said,
with the kids.
you don't check ID for age, do you? Because we might be there for breakfast.
I just say you kind of big for your age. Yeah, you're really tall.
Low, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
really tall.
actually, I'm kind of big for any age, so I'm refrigerator size. I'm past 5X. Pastor Melvin Burns, question.
Tina, you emphasize the title learning center instead of daycare. Why don't you tell folks why you make that emphasis and that difference?
I say that the difference is it really depends on the director of the program. Because I've seen or experienced when my granddaughter lived in Indiana, the person she went to, she provided daycare.
Okay.
So it was like all day she was either in front of the TV, she was on front of in her iPad. So she didn't have like the table time, learning the ABCs, the numbers, the group time, the activities, the listening, the moving. She didn't really do that. And so when my daughter moved back to Muskegon, I found that we had to teach her things that she should have already known. To me, at the age of 2, some things she should have already known and she didn't. So that's why I say there's a difference between daycare and learning center. Now, there are some great daycares. I have some really great people that I work with that have excellent daycare. So I would suggest them to anybody, but I've had some bad experiences with daycare. So I would prefer to have a learning center because a learning center to me is more structured than a daycare.
Okay, so you have this learning center where you're teaching the kids. I want to talk a little bit about kids. People think that kids don't know how to read the room. In other words, if mom and dad or mom is having a bad day or dad is having a bad day, people don't think kids absorb that stuff like a sponge and know how to read the room. But that's really different. Tina, what do you think?
Wow, I just talked about this with a parent the other day. She came in and she was so frustrated. And I was telling her, I said, you need to just kind of take a breather. I said, because your baby feeds off of you. When you're having a bad day in the morning and when you're rushing and you don't take the time to prepare yourself at night or get up early enough in the morning to just kind of have that me time because you're rushing her and you're kind of like, hurry up, let's go. And she's whining. Well, she's doing all of that because she's feeding off of you. And that's just like, even with me, if I come in and I'm frustrated, not only is my staff going to be frustrated, but the children are going to be frustrated as well. So we have to be more considerate as to what our vibes are. We always want to share good vibes and let good vibes bounce off of us, because just like negative vibes bounce off, they bounce off to the children as well.
That's good. What about the things that we speak into children? You're just a bad kid, or you just this, you do this. And people don't know for every bad thing that you say, it takes a ton of good things to get rid of that bad thing statement that you said.
The Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you have to speak life. And I understand that all children are different. They don't come here as angels. They do things. They're kids, of course. But when you speak life into them and you tell them, you are going to be a great young man one day, this is what you have the potential of being, the more you speak life, that they begin to gravitate to what you say. And so when you speak positive, you get positive in return. But when you speak negative, it's always going to be negative. So if you keep telling a child they're bad, then guess what they're going to do? They're going to be bad all day. They're going to have tantrums. They're going to fall out. They're going to do things. They're going to fight. They're going to hit. But if you tell them, no, you are going to be good today. Today, we're going to have a great day. We get thumbs up when you do great things. We get a sticker. So they feed off of that as well. So it's really up to what you're speaking, not only to just your child or who I'm speaking to, but just people in general. We need to learn how to speak positive into people's lives, because we got enough negativity going around already. So we don't need more of it. And like you said, it takes 10 positive things to ward off that one negative thing that you say. And I remember I wrote a book. I'm a co-author in a book And where it says sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that was a lie, because words hurt.
Yes.
They hurt.
Yes, they
I
do.
would much more rather you hurt me with a stick or a stone than some of the words that we speak out of our mouths to people, because words cut deep, and it takes us generations and years to get over the things that people have said about us.
Yes.
Let's go to a comment or question. Yes, ma'am, that's right. And they always learn to mimic first before coherent thought processes develop.
And she's right.
And you're right about that. She said you're right about that. People don't understand that kids are just watching you to see what they do. And then you cuss them like a sailor, and then you wonder where they get it from.
Yeah.
All right, so before we go to a commercial break, let's start talking more about the development of the day. The kids arrive at the center, and what goes on from there.
When they arrive at the center, I have it set up so we have coat racks and everything that hang. They know where their names are. They know where to put their things. They come in, they do table toys, which consist of like blocks, Legos, and they can build, and then we prepare for breakfast. I have a grandparent who cooks breakfast for us every morning. And then after we eat breakfast, we do group time, which consists of listening, moving, alphabets, numbers, shapes, colors, name recognition, and all of those things. And then after that, we do more listening, movement. And then I have some children who's actually ready, or that are writing their name and making shapes and different things. So it just depends on what group they're in. So I have like my early 2s, and then I have the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and I have really good kids and pretty smart kiddos too. Like for February, we did Black History Month, and I don't know if you've seen anything on my page, but I had a 2-year-old who did FloJo, and she was dressed up like FloJo.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw
that.
They did Etta James. I had the Etta James, the Tina Turners. We had a Barack Obama, Tiger Woods. They did an excellent job, and I was just so proud of them. Not only just them, but I was really proud of my parents that got involved, and that's what made it work. That's what made it work.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Let's talk about the parents, Tina, because what makes you talked about them getting involved with the kids in Black History Month, but what part do they play in making what you're doing there successful?
What I learned about parents, and forgive me when I say this is not to be offensive to anybody, but so many times people say they so ghetto, or they come in this way, they wear the bonnets on their heads and whatnot. I had to set the tone for my parents. Okay. So when they came in every morning, before I go to work, I make sure my hair is done, my makeup is done, I'm presentable. So when I present myself to those parents first thing in the morning, I greet them. I'm always together. I don't just go with my hair is all over my head, and then I talk to them. It's in your approach. Again, it's life and death of how you speak to people. So if you go in with a bad attitude and you're half greeting the parents, then guess what? They're going to half greet you. You're going to have to deal with the kids and the issues that they're dealing with. So it's your approach. You have to set the tone for your environment. So when I say my parents are great parents, I've done moms and muffins, dads and donuts, or dates with dads, bibs, buttons, and bow ties for Valentine's Day, and I get 100% support with my parents for those children. So when I say my parents get the thumbs up, they get kudos from me because I love them. I literally love them.
I think that's very important what you said in the years of coaching and stuff like that. With me, it was mandatory that the parents showed up to the kids, their games or their practices. And we did things like we bowled against, or we would do sports against the parents and have fun like that. That is so important. I love what you said is how don't wait for the parent to approach you. You approach the parent.
And you have to make yourself approachable. And sometimes you have to be transparent so that parents can trust you.
Come on now.
You're not just dealing with the parent. You're dealing with the children. So without the children, there is no you. So it's really up to you how you approach the parent. I mean, I've had all kinds of people come into my daycare, and I'm open to all of them. I always tell the parents, they're your children, but they're my babies. And that I text them all the time, even over the weekends. I text them, I talk to them. I just sent them a text a couple hours ago just saying, hey, this is what's coming up. And after I said what I had to say, I said, have a blessed weekend. So I talk to my parents, not just collectively, but individually. And it's not always about the children. I minister to them. I even have an opportunity to pray for them. So when I say I love what I do, I love what I do because it's not just about the kids. It's literally ministry. It's ministry.
Yeah. What about the parents? It's my child. They better do what I say or they gonna get it.
They tell their child if they're cutting up or something going on, I'm calling Miss Tina. I just had a parent tell me the other day, can they spend a night with you for the weekend? No, ma'am. So they threaten their children with me. So I don't have those problems. We really don't. I have a great support team. Shannon Hoffman, Tiffany Jones, Darkisa Townsend, Hattie. I have a great team. So when I say we work together to make this thing gel, we do. And I feel bad for people who say the kids are bad and they have a bad group of parents. That's not my testimony.
So that's you have that village of people helping raise those kids.
I do. I really do.
You heard that, people? Did you hear it takes a village to raise? Did y'all hear that? It can't be, well, you can't talk to my kid. You can't say nothing to my kid.
And
go ahead.
No, and I was listening to what you were saying, and even when you're talking about the shootings, I get so nervous about the things that happens in Muskegon and Muskegon Heights, because the young man who was killed the other day, him and my daughter were best friends. And so she's in Texas. And when she called, she was just like, Mom. And so to hear that and to know that I have children growing up, young men that's growing up, that may potentially hope that they don't ever get into any situations like that, to where I'm constantly saying, God, you got to give us some people who can minister to these babies at a young age, not wait until they get older to where it's almost too late, or they don't believe in what you say because they've already experienced so many different things. So I think if we all come together, it's not just about Black, it's not about white, it's about one. We all bleed the same blood. So when we can minister effectively when they're young, then hopefully we get to a position and to a place where we won't have these problems. I know gun violence is out there, but we have to push forth the effort and try to find ways. How can we speak life into these children? It's all about the words that you speak.
Right.
It's about the words that you speak.
It's in you. You can just feel it in you that you take your job personal, but it's more than a job. It's your life. It's your ministry.
It is.
I would just talk a little bit about that. I mean, you did talk some on it, but talking about being invested in your ministry, deeply wanting to make sure that those kids are vested to head in the right direction.
It is important to me that they learn, of course. It's important to me that they know that you can grow up, you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. And I want to be the first person that sets the tone for that. But in return, I want them to go to the next level or the next phase in life, to where not only do you need to be educated, but you need to it's a must, have a relationship with God. It's a must. I don't care what anybody says. People say that God's not real and all these different things. But when you know him like I know him and the things that he's done in my life, there is no way that I could tell anybody to say God's not real. If it had not been for, and I know I'm going all the way around, but I was at a revival one night, and it was a evangelist there, and he said to me, He said, who is the girl with the babies? All I see is these babies around her. At the time, mind you, I didn't even have a daycare. I was working with somebody else. And he said, you want to have a daycare? He said, stand up. He said, all you need to do is put your name on a flyer. He's saying, watch what God is going to do. When I tell you the doors begin to open. So not only do I want to teach children the basics, the fundamentals, but I also want to speak life into them, that you can exist, that there is a God who can sustain you, that can keep you. We just got to put them in. We just got to put it in them. We just got to put and give them the right direction and the right foundation.
Let's go to comments. Mizoots says, yes, those first 0 to 5 years set the tone. And we can't stop at that. Continue on with the path and support for them through the whole 18 years. And I'm going to go further than that. I got kids, 34 years. I'm in that. I'm in that. It don't stop at 18.
Nope.
It don't stop at 18. It goes further than that. With that said, it's the bottom of the hour. You're listening and watching Torn Into with our guest, Tina Grissom and Pastor Melvin Burns. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back in a couple seconds. See you soon.
The wait is over. The all-new Umoja Radio Network, home to over 40 Black-owned radio stations and podcasts, is here for you. Connect to the world's fastest-growing collection of unapologetically Black and proud media, from podcasts to independent Black-owned radio stations, and access to the important news and music you need. Umoja Radio is from our culture, by our culture, for our culture. The all-new Umoja Radio is available right now on Google Play and the Apple Store. Join the movement. Be empowered.
The second annual I Am Her Feminine Hygiene Drive, supporting young ladies from Ghana, Africa, in need of everyday essentials and feminine hygiene products, was a great success. Thanks to the generosity of our community and organizations like Period.org, Muskegon Heights Public School Academy, Confident Cosmetics, Muskegon Heights Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Inc., and everyone who made a contribution. Hundreds of young ladies and village members received essential items. The community made a lasting impact with more than 10,000 sanitation items donated. If you would like to help, donations can be made year-round by dropping off items in the donation shed at the Mays and Wright Media Center, located at 1877 Peck Street, or making a contribution to paypal.me/1037thebeats. For more information, call 231-727-5007. Thank you for supporting I Am Her Foundation.
And we're back to Torn 2, bottom of the hour, 2:29 for this March 25th, with Pastor Melvin Burns II and Tina Grissom. I want a couple things. If you do not have that app on your phone, what that app does is that you can, any music, gospel, jazz, blues, oldies, whatever, you can pick that station. There's stations just like ours. And then if you go to the video section, you will see this video. So it's you are looking for different music to listen to and support. So let's talk. How long you been doing this? I mean, your business.
My business is now 2.5. Tina Tots will be 3 years old. Actually, in a few months, I'll be 3 years old in July.
Hey, party!
No, I'll be whole 3. Yeah.
So let's talk about, how did COVID affect you right at, because you're talking about almost at the beginning of your business, and how did it affect the kids?
I've had this conversation before, and believe it or not, COVID didn't affect me. I only took off maybe 1 or 2 weeks when COVID first started, because right at the beginning, that's when we lost our pastor, Bishop Wells.
Yeah.
And I was closed for like 2 weeks after that. But after that, I stayed open because my parents, they still worked. I had some that worked at the hospital, a few that worked at factories. So the ones that remained working, I stayed open. So I didn't have any problems or anything when it came to COVID. So that was really fortunate for myself.
What about the children?
We talked about the mask, so the children couldn't really understand why we were wearing masks.
Mhm.
So we talked about we're wearing masks to keep us protected, you know,
Mhm.
to keep us from germs. And we had a little germy song that we sung, but for the most part, they were, you know, kids adjust. We the ones that don't adjust. They adjust with whatever. So they did really well with wearing the mask and the rules and the regulations that we had to follow. But they were fine. I was the one that was frustrated by the mask because my sinuses and allergies and whatnot, and ears getting all rashy and whatnot. But they were fine with it. So
You said something that I think people need to hear again when it comes down to children. They adjust.
yeah,
Mhm.
they do.
Because a lot of people don't think they don't.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they don't adjust. Was it last year? I think it was either last year or year before last one. We did the first time we made the news as far as the Black history. So some of the kids had on the mask. And I went back and I read some of the comments that people were saying they shouldn't have on masks and they can't breathe. They gave me so much flack, and I was really hurt. I was like, you are the one having the problem, not the child. So children adjust. It's the adults that don't adjust because we are so used to having tantrums. We're so used to having our ways. We're so used to complaining about everything. It's not the children. It's the adults that have the problem.
Well,
It's adults. And so just like we always talk about the children are bad, guess why? Because you are their example. That's why they're acting the way that they do. They feel entitled. No, you're not entitled. So, you know, it was more so it was me. It was the adults who had the hard time with the mask. It wasn't the children.
Tina, can I give you some advice? I'm thankful for my haters. All you people drinking haterade out there, keep on drinking and keep writing them bad notes. It makes me feel great. Pastor Melvin Burns, go ahead.
You know, and I hear you. What word keeps coming to mind, Tina, you talk about the relationship really between your students and the parents. And I don't want to do a don'ts list, but what are some of the things you would encourage parents, you know, if they're looking around for a learning center, some things they should probably be looking for and probably not do as they're looking for an environment for their child?
I would suggest, how do you feel when you walk into their establishment? That's the first thing, because spirits linger. So of course you're going to be able to tell, oh, this environment is not right. And then sit down and talk to your provider. Sit down and have a conversation with them and ask them what are their goals and expectations. What are their teaching? And then you give them what you're expecting from them. And if they're not giving you the right information or the feedback that you're looking for, then you have a right to go to another place, another facility, because you are leaving your child in the hands of somebody else. So.
What about this? How about listen to when your child is in that place and your child comes back with bad reports? You'll be all right. Rub some dirt on the kid, get back in the game and go in there.
You have to know your child. First thing, you have to know your child, but always pay attention to what they're telling you. All children don't lie. They are telling the truth in some way, shape, form, or fashion. They may add to it a little bit, but if you decipher what they're saying in the middle, you're going to get the story, because they're going to end up telling it eventually. And if they keep telling you the same thing over and over again, that something is going on, then again, you need to have a conversation with your provider. You need to find out what's going on and check in. Most facilities have an open door policy.
That's it.
They have an open door policy, and I tell my parents all the time, please come visit. My parents won't even come and visit. They just leave their kids and be like, we'll see you later at 5:00. I'll be like, but don't you want to come? They won't come. They just won't come. But again, have a conversation with your provider. You know, sit down and talk to them. But if you don't have a conversation with your provider, then guess what? They're not going to have a conversation with you either, because they're not personal.
Wow.
They don't come personal. I have conversations with my parents. I have conversations with every last one of them, from the father to the significant other, to the mother, the grandparent. I talk to all of them.
All right, another comment from the Zoots. Watch their body language after they've been there. Kids will tell you if there's an issue without saying a word. Fearful posture, indifference from the staff.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes. Posture means a lot.
Say, wait. Say that again. Posture means a lot. Break that down because some people don't know.
Posture speaks volumes. So when she said, watch their posture. So say, for instance, if you drop your child off and this particular provider comes around them and they hunch over, or they just immediately start crying unconsolably, then you need to kind of question that. You need to always watch. I always take videos of the kids. I send pictures. I send text messages, everything. They get all kind of things during the course of the day, so they know what their child is doing. They can call me at any given point in time, cameras, whatever. You can watch. I have absolutely nothing to hide. So she is so right. Always watch your child's posture. Mm-hmm. Now, if your child is attached to you, then that's something different. That's something different. And if they have anxiety disorder, that's something different. But if they're crying and they're fearful and always saying, no, I don't want to go with this person, please pay attention. Please pay attention.
You say you have cameras and people can watch in?
Mm-hmm. Just my parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just my parents.
Explain how important that transparency is. So a parent, I'm sitting at work and I can just type in and watch what's going on in the daycare.
Yeah, you can just type in and you got the link to it and you can look in and just watch. And because when you are accountable for somebody watching you, then of course you're going to do your job right. Mm-hmm. When you got things to hide, you don't want nobody peeking in because you feel like your personal space is being exposed. We have nothing to hide.
That's good.
We have nothing to hide. And then not only that, we work too hard to be licensed. We work too hard to, get all of our things up to code and to be where we want to be. Those inspections, those things are not cheap. When your licensing consultant comes in, you have to pay for that. Every time your licensing consultant comes back and you get written up, that follows you. So you have nothing to hide. When you have something to hide, then that's when you should worry.
Talk about the licensing process.
Licensing is so when I got licensed for the daycare, they come in and they do measurements and they let you know how many children you can have based off of if you have 2 or 3 bathrooms, how many sinks you have. So they always check the space, the footage and whatnot. Then that's how they tell you about how many children you can have in the classroom. Then I have to call the lead inspectors. The lead inspectors come out, they check for lead in the window sills, the painting, making sure that the facility is up to code. There's no chip paint or anything. So we go through all of that process. Then the fire chief comes out, the fire inspector. So I think we have probably about 5 or 6 inspections also with the health department. So they're always on us, and which is a good thing because you don't want to bring your child to a facility, you got chip paint, the doors is falling off, the windows are broken. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Pastor Melvin Burns.
No, I listen to you, Tina. Even like you talk about those inspections where most people tend to be negative about them. You kind of turn those things around, and instead of hurdles, you kind of say, well, if that's what they do, there's a reason and there's a benefit to us doing it. So
sometimes it does it gets nerving because not only do you have to make sure everything stays up to code, but you got to make sure your paperwork and stuff is in place. You got to make sure you got health appraisals on the kids. You got to have shock records and emergency forms. So all of those things, it can get nervy, but if you stay on top of it at the beginning, you don't have to worry about, trying to fix it when she comes out and say, hey, you need to work on this or this needs to be done. So you just have to kind of stay on it and keep it going. It's a process. It's an everyday process. It's not something that you start and then you wait and she comes back, and because you never know when she's gonna show up. You never know. She don't call you and say, "Hey, I'm on my way." Nope, she just not. All you see is that state flag on the car, and there she is. I'm like, God. So yeah.
Tina, talk a little bit about. I know when I was in the food business and had my catering business, and I had to go with the licenses and inspections. Like you said, you don't know when they're gonna show up. But my thought is to be proactive. If don't just do the minimum with the license, go beyond. So finding the license is great. Why are you doing so much? You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Talk about going beyond that, because I can see you do that.
I always try my best to go beyond. I had some really good mentors. First of all, I had Pauline McDowell, Stephanie Marion. I had some really cool people that really, really pushed me to help me to get here. Elva Walker and Paula Addison. So I had some really good people to help me to learn what I needed to learn. So when they pushed me, not only did they show me what to do, I just did what I knew to do on top of what they showed me how to do. So when it came to paperwork, I always talked to my parents, hey, next month I'm gonna need a shop record. So give it to me ahead of time. So I always try to get started like months prior to it actually coming up. So when the month comes, I already have it. So I'm working on something else completely different. So I always try to stay in rotation, but I try to stay a month ahead of myself so that I don't wait until the last minute and then I'm scattering around trying to figure out, oh, this parent can't get in. Because if that paperwork isn't in and not done, then that child cannot come. So and then if that child is not come, then guess what? I don't get paid.
Wow. Yeah. Going back, Zeus says, I always say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's in life. If you stay ready, if you stay proactive, then you don't have to deal with them when they come knocking at the door for that inspection. Pastor Melvin Burns.
We've got gonna be almost a week left, and this is March, which is Women's History Month. Tina, why don't you speak to you went from working at a daycare to now being your own female-owned enterprise. Why don't you just speak to maybe people out there, whether it's a learning center or their own business, but why don't you speak to some of the other Black women out there that may be thinking about starting their own business and what that experience has been like?
It has been, I can honestly say it has been an honor. It was, at first, it was kind of nerve-wracking because I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I didn't know if I was going to succeed or fail. I just didn't know. But even though I was trusting the process of what was inside of me, I kept going. I wish I had done it 10 years ago.
Okay.
Because to do the things that I do now, it has been an awesome experience, not just for working with the children, but for myself. It helped me to grow up. I was at a point in my life to where I had really low self-esteem. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. So when I started Tina Tots, it actually helped me to grow up and to build confidence, because you don't have anybody to hide behind. It's just you and whatever in front of you. So I didn't have anybody to have my back and to cover me. I had to literally go for myself. And I said, okay, God, either I'm going to pass or fail. And I didn't believe he was going to let me fail. I was just nervous of failing because I didn't know the ins and outs. This was all new to me. You know, when you have a boss that tells you what to do, they tell you paperwork needs to be done. But now doing it for myself, I can honestly say that I'm proud of Tina. Tina has not only started her own enterprise, as you say, Tina has grown up. Tina has confidence. Tina is proud of herself. So to see women and the things that we struggle with, we're single mothers, we're raising children, we're going to work, we're doing all these things. So to take on a project to say, I can do this, I can succeed. I don't care if it's selling lip gloss. Even like Kaya Thornton, she helped push me to say, you can take this leap, you can do this. Tishley Harris, I've watched her do the same thing. Star Jewelry, she just actually, shout out to Tishley, her jewelry name birthday is this week. So 1 year old, but to see Black women start their own businesses, that says a lot, because people don't realize the things that we have to contend with as women of starting business on our own, because everybody don't give us the kudos and the support.
Come on. Going back to comments, Suits says her presence is so amazing, and her spirit and joy for her calling shows. She says, I'm sad my children are grown because they would have benefit from someone like her. I agree.
Thank you.
100%.
Greg don't allow me to preach on here, but if I was going to say anything,
well, go to preach, go to preach.
And I'll, you talked about hearing that first, that evangelists call you out by name, and when we respond to our calling, we become the person we're supposed to be.
Sweet.
Sometimes things in our life fell out of sort, and we don't feel that confidence or feel like we're quite there. But when we pursue what God calls us to, all those things kind of take care of themselves. We become that full person God wants us to be. I had an uncle for years ago when I was trying to explain what I was doing in my other profession, and he said, "It's not a job; it's a calling."
Wow.
And when you get that, and I said, when you get that, you talk about the things in your life you had to grow up to, and it's obvious you enjoy what you're doing. And
working with the children is really my passion. That's my heart.
Yes.
I don't wake up in the morning and look at it that I'm going to work.
Yes.
I'm going to my purpose. That's what I'm going to.
Yes.
Come on now, say it.
Yes.
In the morning, I'm walking into my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I have those days to where I don't want to go? I don't, because I'm just tired, but not because I don't like my job. I'm just tired. So I'm walking into my purpose every morning when I go. Every time a new child comes into my facility, that's my purpose. That's my assignment.
Yeah,
that's my assignment.
I want to go back to comments. Miss Sue, she's on it today. Says, "Don't curse me with that yet, Pastor Burns."
I know what she said.
Talk about that, and you're well versed that many are called, few are chosen. You were chosen for this destiny. You were chosen for such a time as this. Talk about, you have a job, you have a business, but everything you do unto the Lord. Talk about that, being able to do that every morning.
It is definitely an honor. I never wake up and take it for granted. I ask God every morning. Y'all gonna make me cry, so let me.
That's all right.
Go on, take your time.
We do it all on this show.
Tito, pass the tissues. That's all right.
I ask God every day to always let me remain humble, because I don't want to ever get the big heads and think that I've arrived. Because when you get the big heads and think that you've got it all together, then that's when the devil creeps in. That's when things begin to happen. So I always want to remain humble, because God didn't have to put me in this position to minister to people's children, and not just the children, but to the parents. So I don't take my job lightly. I don't take my passion lightly. I love the women that work with me. I love the grandmother that cooks for us every day. And people don't realize the things that you have to contend with, and the things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, the stressors. But because you learn how to hide it so well, you learn how to compact it all so well, that I have to later come home and just take a woosah, just take a moment to relax, to where I don't want to hear anything. So I don't take the opportunity that God has placed in my hands for granted. I don't ever want to get to a place to say that I've arrived. Because if I've arrived, then God don't need me. So I still have purpose, and I still have calling, and I still have things that I need to do.
Tina, where do you see yourself, let's say 5 years?
5 years. I actually see myself in a full building, because I want a preschool. Even though I have a learning center, I actually want a full preschool kindergarten facility where I still have the learning center. I still have the infant toddler room, but I want to be able to have, like, the children that leave me, like, say for instance, if I had my building now, the children that leave me, they'll actually go right into the next room.
Okay.
Because I've had some children who left me, and instead of going to kindergarten, they test out and go to first grade.
Wow.
So that's my goal, to actually push them, and to not necessarily have a full school, but just those early years of the things that they need to know from infancy all the way up to first grade, because those years are so crucial, even though you still compiling things on top. But those years, those early years, they are so crucial, because children deal with a lot of things, and a lot of times they don't retain a lot. You know, they dealing with things from birth coming into life. I had a little girl who, her mom said that she was struggling with detachment. So that was from the womb, you know, and then being passed around from house to house. So those are things that I would love to get involved in.
Pastor Melvin Burns.
I had a note about something earlier, just going back, but you mentioned when the kids come in, they play with certain types of toys. Say something to our parents. You know, I see them 1.5, 2 on the cell phones, the tablets. Give our parents just a little advice, even about the kind of toys that their kids play with.
Please don't put a cell phone in the baby hand. And I know we want to give them something to keep them entertained, to keep them involved.
Quiet.
Yeah, to hush them. Don't shush them. Let them be them.
Yes.
It's something different if you're sitting in church, and if you're going to give them a tablet, give them something that's age appropriate for them, not your cell phone. You got the leap pads and the leapfrogs and all those things. Give them things like that. But you'll be surprised at, if you give a child a block and let them stack, what you will see them do. It's amazing. I've watched some of the younger ones, how they build and the things that they make. And they'll tell me, that's a castle. That's the Empire State Building. I mean, the big words and the things that they say. So get them involved. I know sometimes we can't help it, but if you can help it, do not put a cell phone in a child's hand.
Or a tablet, or if you put it in their hands, make sure you have time limits.
Time limits is good. And like how when we're in the center, my children, they're only able to watch 2 minutes a day. Of
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Woo!
They cannot have more than 2 minutes.
Love it.
Yes.
That's like that's one song. And everything else we have to either do by hand, we have to clap, we have to get out the musical instruments, we have to sing, everything. You have to do something besides give them a tablet.
What about the old saying? I mean, letting get the kids outside and let them experience outside. Do you do that?
Oh yeah, we outside. We went to Hackley Park in the wintertime. We had on our snowsuits. I had a snowsuit on and boots because I hate the cold. But the kids needed to be outside, so outside we went. We've just been getting our yard and everything cleaned up. So when I say I'm ready to be out in the yard and playing, they need outside time, not TV time. Because it not only messes with them psychologically, their eyes start getting bad. Let them go outside, breathe some fresh air. That's why the kids get frustrated too. They need some air. They've been cooped up all winter. So take them outside, take them to the corner, walk them to the park.
Let them roll in some dirt. I mean, you deal with this immunity problem. Tina, we are 4 minutes away. Let's talk about, I want to get this question. If I'm looking for a place for my child, your books, how do I find a good place for my child? Because, like, again, your books.
Tina Tots has a waiting list. However, if you need immediate service for your child, I have so many different people that I come in contact with. Like I said, Paula Addison, she has a great in-home daycare. Elva Walker has a great in-home daycare. And I have a few more that I can't really think of off the top of my head, but those women are really good at what they do. I know that they're taking children. So is Jackie Mendola, if I'm pronouncing her name right. She's taking children. She does first, second, and third shift. And I think all of those ladies, except for two, I know Elva does first shift and third shift. And then I think Paula does first shift and maybe second. But there's some really great people that have good services. And then if you're not sure, you can always go to the Great Start website and you can pull up what daycares have opening.
And actually, you could go on to the state, because the state have all anything violations, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They're
It's
online.
public knowledge.
It's public knowledge.
Yes.
Last statement for the day. Ms. Zoots, you can tell she found her God-given purpose because people don't get emotional about jobs.
Yes, I love my job. I love it.
Okay, so now let's give that shameless plug about how you can be reached. Here's a chance to talk about your business, how to contact you, all that kind of stuff.
All right. So you can always call Tina Tots at 231-683-7150. I am located at 2301 6th Street, formerly the old Loftus Elementary School building. And my motto is train up a child in the way they should go. And when they are old, they will not depart from it. So anytime that you are looking for somewhere that you want your child to be, where we can play, learn, and grow together, contact Tina Tots.
Pastor Melvin Burns, we got 2 minutes.
Great stuff, Tina. God, it's so nice to meet you somewhat in person here and have a chance to interview you.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna have any little babies soon, but did you have me inspired? But no, I appreciate everything you had to say. And I hope our listeners were listening. Well, I said we want people to learn and be educated, and I think you've taught us some things about having a passion for what you do, some things to teach their kids, and about how to put themselves completely into what they're doing. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Tina, again, I touch and agree with you about your plan for 5 years. Let it be so. Let it be so. It's been spoken. In Jesus' name, amen. We agree.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
But thank you. Also, I want to let you know you're invited to come back to this show anytime, and we'll get you on to talk about different issues about kids. You have proven and shown yourself worthy when it comes down to children.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. You have been watching and listening to Torn in Two for this day, March 25th, with Tony Grissom and Tina Grissom and Melvin C. Burns. Let me get this information out. Ms. Zoots, you are on it. That's her Facebook page, and that's how to get in touch with her. It's right there. The information is right there. I want to thank Lady J once again, and I want to thank Tony for sharing you. We appreciate that. So listen, people, it's the weekend. It's a spirit of heaviness. Break that spirit of heaviness. Go out and sow a seed in somebody's life. Take care. God bless. Have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you.
The wait is over. The all-new Umoja Radio Network, home to over 40 Black-owned radio stations and podcasts, is here for you.